It's great for boxing that this event is going to be promoted the way it is, without any abuse, verbal, physical, or any other shape of it. I heard that many times from David Haye and Tyson Fury. I just recently heard it at the New York press conference from Anthony, that it's all about a mental game. But I'm not playing games. I'm serious with what I'm doing. There are no mental games from me. Maybe it is something you can use in a way, but it is not going to work on my skin. It is too thick. Eventually people get under their own skin, which is what happened in the case of David Haye and unfortunately Tyson Fury. I didn't get the chance to fight him again and he just got destroyed. He won the fight, but if we talk about mental stuff, that's why I don't play these games and I am straightforward. People trying to get under my skin are concentrating on the wrong things, mind games, and are getting themselves twisted in their own mind. Just look at Fury. It's funny. I was driving in the car from the airport to here, and I realized I know these streets so well because I've been competing here, and so has my brother. I fought here for the first time against Axel Schultz, and I thought, when was that? It already feels like a long time ago. It doesn't sound good to me. I'm glad that I'm still around, but it was 1999. At time, age is only a number, but at certain times when you look back, it's obviously interesting. So those are the words of Wladimir Klitschko. He says he don't play mind games and that mind games only backfire. Just look at David Haye and Tyson Fury. The fact that Klitschko, this is just my view here, is saying that he don't play mind games is actually a mind game in itself, because there's never been a fighter who's been heavyweight champion in the past decade that has played as many mind games as Wladimir Klitschko. This guy is nothing but mind games. Just look at these shenanigans that he carries on with before a lot of his fights. Before he fought Kubrat Pulev, he made Pulev wear custom gloves. And Pulev was running around trying to get gloves that actually fit him properly. He said the gloves were uncomfortable. With Tyson Fury, it was the same thing. He gave Fury to run around with the gloves. Fury was wearing gloves that he felt were very uncomfortable. Deliberately so, he felt. There was the spongy canvas. There was all sorts of other shenanigans backstage. And this guy saying he don't play mind games? Give me a break. All he ever does is play mind games. He constantly stares his opponents down. He tries to order them around at press conferences. You know, to say that he don't play mind games is a joke. Of course he plays mind games. That's all he ever does. He says that the mind games backfired in the case of David Haye and Tyson Fury. Well, I don't really think they backfired. I just think that David Haye wasn't good enough to beat Wladimir Klitschko. And I don't think the Fury mind games backfired. They actually worked because Fury beat him. What happened after the fight didn't have anything to do with Fury playing mind games on Wladimir Klitschko. You know, I don't want to go into exactly what happened to Fury. None of us really know the absolute truth because we're not inside the Fury camp and we're not inside Tyson Fury's head. We can only interpret as outsiders looking in. But I don't see it as Fury's mind games backfiring, the mind games he tried to play on Klitschko. I don't really think Fury played mind games as such. I think he was just being himself and imposing himself on Wladimir Klitschko as much as he could, just the way he does with all his other opponents. That's how he is. Tyson Fury is a guy who refuses to be dominated psychologically. He refuses to be controlled psychologically. And that really upset Wladimir. So if anything, as I say, whatever Fury did, call them mind games or however you want to interpret them, they worked. So to me, Wladimir is a bit off in what he's saying here. Maybe you guys disagree, but that's what I feel. And again, I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I find it a little alarming the way that Anthony Joshua is responding to Wladimir Klitschko's quote-unquote mind games. Now, ultimately, the only thing that matters with Joshua and Klitschko is what takes place in the ring. As I've said many, many times in the past, when you're dealing with a fighter as inexperienced as Joshua, mind games played upon him could have a toll on him. They could take a toll on him. they could make him underperform. Yes, they could, because he hasn't been in this situation before. He's never fought somebody as good as Wladimir Klitschko, amateur or pro. He's never fought in a massive football stadium before. Well, he did on the undercard of Frutch Groves too, but when he fought, there was only, a relative handful of people in the audience. Whereas this time he's going to be headlining and there's going to be 90,000 people. The pressure is all on him. He's supposed to be the new star of boxing. So he's expected to do the job. Klitschko's got no pressure on his shoulders. He's going to have the crowd all against him. He's supposed to be the old guy who just got beat by Tyson Fury, who's been out the ring for God knows how long. There's no pressure on his shoulders. He's actually going to be the underdog at the, in the bookies and whatnot, with the bookmakers. He's the underdog. So when you combine all those factors together, along with Klitschko's mind games and trying to dominate Joshua and be a bit condescending towards him, that kind of stuff can take its toll on a young, inexperienced fighter like Joshua. It doesn't mean that it will, but it certainly can. It's, there have been many fighters in Joshua's position before who have fallen apart because they weren't mentally ready for the occasion. So when people dismiss all the mind games, they're being hasty. Yeah. If you had two fighters, for example, like Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao, two very experienced guys, and they were trying to play mind games on each other, waste of time. In fact, any type of mind games that they were trying to play on each other, especially Mayweather, was just for promotional purposes. Mayweather knew he couldn't get into Pacquiao's head and vice versa. Those guys have been there, seen it, done it all. No mind games were going to make any damn difference between Mayweather and Pacquiao. Both guys too experienced. But here with Joshua, he is green. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold it together mentally and go in there and deliver physically against Klitschko. Because best believe there are mind games. Best believe Klitschko was trying to make Joshua doubt himself. Will it work? Won't it work? The proof is in the pudding at the end of the day. But let me know what you think about everything I talked about in this video. Klitschko's words here saying he don't play mind games, saying that mind games backfired in the case of David Haye and Tyson Fury, and everything else I talked about. All right, let me know. It's happening. I'm out.